Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'll call to order strategic planning for Tuesday, October 19th, 2021. Let the record show that all aldermen are present except for Alderman Gonzalez. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting. Could I get a second, please? Second by Alderman Robinson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So we have unfinished business. We've got PL 52-21 by Alderman Witt to adopt the City of Olean employee social media policy. Alderman Witt.
Thank you. I met with our new HR person, and he was going to review it for us. And I was just talking to the mayor, and he didn't see anything in the language that would be acceptable. So before I suggest moving this on, does anybody else have any questions? Sorry, guys.
Well, Alderman Robinson.
From our previous meeting, we had discussed getting some questions answered. And I guess this was for the mayor or maybe for the human resource. Is he human resource officer or director? What is his title?
Human resource specialist.
Specialist. Okay, specialist.
That's his official civil service title.
So, I mean, I don't know if he would be able to answer this, or if mayor, you'd be able to answer, but what I wanted to find out was what would be the course of action if the employee violated this policy?
If we were to get a complaint, if you go to, it'd be the second page, and down here, no, that's not it. The course of action would be, if a complaint is filed, human resource would be filed with the human resource officer or a specialist, or the department head would be turned over to the human resource specialist. He would do the investigation on it, and then the interviews, and then the appropriate action would be taken.
Okay. And this is now, do we have a code of ethics policy?
Code of ethics, yes, we do. That needs work also.
So it's outdated? Okay.
Part of our policy, no.
Yeah, so I do have a note here, and whether it was going to be something along the lines of what Alderman Robinson talked about, as far as just kind of closing the loop, as from an enforcement or discipline standpoint. Does this, within this policy, reference back to discipline within, since we have a number of bargaining units? I mean, is there the progressive discipline for our bargaining unit? I mean, I think it may be beneficial to, and I don't even think it necessarily needs to be super detailed, but to kind of talk just about how you put it, Mayor, that any complaints that come in get filed with the human resource specialist based on the findings, the department head or yourself. I mean, I don't know how really the enforcement or discipline, if the policy is broken, what, do they reference the collective bargaining agreement? Are there an outline? Is there an outline for discipline within that? I mean, I guess, is that kind of what you were asking, Vernon?
Yeah, that's kind of along the lines with what I'm curious about.
Does that need to be stated? Alderman Witt, do you have any thoughts?
I think the more detailed, the better. I just think if you leave it open to interpretation, I mean, the way you interpret it, the way I interpret it, the way Vern, could be totally different. So I think, and particularly since we have 3 different bargaining units, that might be one more thing that we have to look at before we move it forward, is just how, what the steps are. As the mayor said, it goes to the HR specialist, then back to the department head, and then, as far as the unions, the discipline, or the level of the disciplines. I know there are the contracts, but is that what is going to follow suit with the social media
And again, I'm just thinking out loud, right? Maybe it's something as simple as, any complaints will be, received and investigated by the human resource, officer or specialist, and, the findings of the investigation will, be reviewed with the department head, and then the department head will be the one to, determine the corrective, discipline, or however you want to word it, under the collective bargaining agreements. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, but that's, we can look at putting something like that in there, so.
And it could just, I think it could be short and sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, because if you look at the collective bargaining, there are steps, this,
Yeah.
those would be the steps we followed.
So what I even have written down here, so we must have talked about this the last time, is a number 6, and that would be like enforcement, that addresses discipline. So I think if we could maybe get Ward to offer some insight, Mayor, or even yourself or Alderman Witt, just kind of to close that loop, I think we'll be good to go.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll stop in and see one in a minute.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I'm not in a committee, but I'd just like to add, our union, where I worked, we had, it was called, you said, rest discipline. First step was a verbal, depending on how serious the offense is, of course, and then a written, and then more serious, the third step, so.
I don't think we want to put that in this policy. We want to put something in that says that we will go by the discipline and the collective bargaining agreement.
Correct.
I agree. Okay.
Okay, any other questions on the social media policy? Is everyone good to go after we get that cleared up the form?
I think so.
Okay.
So do you want to make a motion for right now, Linda, to postpone?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
motion
make
is,
that motion.
motion is made. I'll make the motion to second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, postpone till the next strategic planning meeting. Okay, so we have a number of items, new referrals for consideration, a lot of different discussion items. And so first up, we've got murals. That would be Alderman Robinson. Give us an update on the murals.
Thank you, John. First, a few things. I want to thank Sammy Gonzalez for bringing this to my attention. He's not in my ward, but this is something that he had mentioned to me and said, how come we don't have murals in Olean? So that's why this was brought forward. And then, Mayor, I want to apologize because I know in the very beginning I was showing frustration over the fact that we were trying to, or I was trying to get something going, and I didn't understand that there was logistics involved that was a little more in depth than what I thought. In my world, in my eyes, my assumption, you can take and, we want to paint the stadium. Let's get a bunch of guys and get some paint. We can take it out of kitty funds, $50, go paint the wall, boom, done. So I'm mistaken. So over the past few weeks, I've met with numerous artists via Zoom, phone, and in person. To start, Victoria Swire, you guys are familiar with her, and Andy Mellon, some of you are familiar with him. They are very much interested in murals for the city. I've also discussed with renowned artist Sean Dunwoody. He's out of Rochester, and I met with him via Zoom with Amy Vina. She's also a local here. They've expressed interest, and we had a nice conversation, and he went about his process for coming to a city and learning what the people want as far as the design, and then coming up with different ways of getting the community involved. And I like that idea. One of the methods that he mentioned was a paint day. I'll come back to that. I also met with Meg Seligman. I hope I pronounced her name right. She's also a local. She's the woman that's interested in doing a mural in honor of her father on the JCC building. I talked to her, and I went to her presentation when she came to town, and during her presentation, we learned that there is a method for painting by the numbers, or painting in layers. So discussing this with her the next day, we came up with a plan, and what we're hoping is, when I met with Michael Winterman, he's the executive director for Tri-County Arts Council. We met and we discussed if we can get these group of artists together, mind you, there were 15 to 20 people that came to Meg's presentation that night. So there are a lot of artists that are interested in helping Olean with this, with some being novice and a lot of them being professionals, or have experience, I should say, with painting. That we do something in the city called a paint day, where we involve everyone, kids, adults, you name it. And we do something where we can do either one project at a time or multiple projects. We can do it in conjunction with the one that Amy is doing and have that as paint day, or we can schedule it for a later time if it's something that draws a huge crowd. But we can do this and say do a paint by the numbers. And we have it where they come in and the kids will come in and paint a lower section and paint numbers one, all the ones red. And then they'll have another group who come in and paint all the other numbers blue. So, and eventually this is all gonna come out into a huge mural. What happens is each person, when the mural is done, there's a card that's given of a picture of that art. And on that section where that particular person painted will be circled on that card and it'll have their signature. So they'll be able to say, I painted this. They were a part of this. And I think that would be great for bringing the community together. I think it'd be great for a little bit of camaraderie, you should say. So I think it would be beneficial to the city, you know, especially the downtown district, you know, could prosper from it. If you have a bunch of people coming in from out of town, this is something that would draw a lot of people. And I want to remind you that artist Sean Dunwoody has a huge Instagram following. So that would bring a lot of people here. So the artist's thoughts and ideas in these projects are important, so we don't want to get in their way. So we discussed it a little bit and we figured, so what we're going to do is we're going to allow them to get together, come up with their thoughts and ideas. I was going to participate and be a part of this group. And once we have more info and more ideas, I'll keep the council updated. And then as far as when they are ready to present an art piece, they would put it on a Photoshop document. And that way we can visually look at it and see what it would look like and where they're thinking that it should go. And then from there we can vote and discuss from there. So with all of this being said, my goal or what I envision is people coming to Olean to tour here because of our arts, our statues, festivals, and for family. I figured that people will come here and they'll see the scooters. You know, they'll want to ride the scooters up and down through downtown. We'll have accessible parking. We'll have Bob Ring's wayfinding project going along Union and State Street. That'll tell you all the different things that we have available in the city in all the different areas. People can travel through town using the connected paths and the walkability. They can see the murals, they can see the arts, they can check out the squirrels, take pictures with them. So then they can venture into local businesses and get food, go by the bars, get drinks, and we can market this place as a tourist place. And I think that would help the downtown area, and that would help generate sales revenue for the city. And you never know, maybe someone would move here from Buffalo or Syracuse, you know, Rochester, and telecommute. You know, telecommuting is a big thing now, where people are working from home and able to report to another, you know, region. So that's an idea. So all of that said, you know, I think murals are going to be a small part of achieving that marketing goal, and I'm really excited about this.
Thank you very much for the update, Alderman Robinson. Any questions? Alderman Witt?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, the mural and the artist and the suggestions that Vern is talking about is separate. I was asked to be on a separate committee, so I'm working with Meg, and I also met with Meg. And theirs is separate from when the city vision is. Theirs is more for her dad and at a certain place, so we just wanted to keep those separate. So I just wanted to point that out, and I know she talked with Vern about that also. But I think Vern's vision and I think the idea of getting more people in the community involved is super. I think we have so many young people. I do a lot at the Tri-County Art Council, and they really encourage young people to get involved, and I think with them being part of it, I think you're gonna see a lot of high schoolers, maybe people from JCC or Bonus getting involved, so I think it's a great thing. I can't wait to get started.
Yeah.
Okay, Alderman, Alderman Haley. Mayor Haley,
I've never been an alderman.
not yet.
You never know. But anyways, we just had another couple of inquiries on this. And we had one from Emily Sorokas. She just wrote us. And then I sent on the one that we received and the layout of the rec center wall. And then we have the one that we got in that was, we copied, I believe, and sent it out to everybody. But the biggest question we're getting is, how much budget do we have for this? So that's something we're gonna do. We did not budget money for this, so as we move forward, the council's gonna have to budget money for this, so.
So what we were hoping, when I was talking with Michael Wintermantle, was that because they're a not-for-profit, that's why we were hoping, or that's why I was hoping, that they would take a lead, because that way they could put in for grants and try to get things paid for. And he has the experience with working with the different artists. You know, different artists can require X amount of dollars. So they're experienced with that, and I know absolutely nothing about it. So I was more than willing to pass that on and let that work. And I know I touched base with Carrie Kerper, and she provided some information as well for methods that are available for grants. And I passed that information on to Michael, and he's familiar. He's worked with Carrie Kerper before, so everyone's familiar with each other. Everyone, has communication. So I try to eliminate being the middleman and just step back and let everyone do their thing and just hope that we can bring something to Olean. So.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? So I have a question. So what's the next step? So budget is that's a valid point. If we're running point on it, or it may be beneficial. It may be beneficial, Alderman Robinson, to maybe coordinate a sit down with the mayor and Carrie, and maybe Mr. Wintermantle, yourself, whomever, right, and talk about that. What is the next strategy, right? What is are they going to apply for the grants? Are we going to fund this internally? Timeline, just kind of get a project schedule together. So you've kind of got the lay of the land now. So I guess that would be my request or my recommendation is, where do we go next? And I know how much you love project management, so that's the fun part. The idea is the easy part.
Yeah.
So good luck, and I love it. 100% behind it. Anything the council can do, certainly, we're all in. So, okay, very good. So I have, and I apologize, I didn't specify, these should have gone on Finance Committee. Alderman Witt asked to get some updates on different funding we've set aside. And so she had quite the list, so I asked to split the list into 2 committee nights. So I see Bob Ring is in here, so maybe the mayor is going to be able to address some of these questions. So Alderman Witt was looking for some updates. First, the Franchot Park entrance update.
Yeah, Bob is away at the Public Works Conference for NICOM, so he will be back. I believe he's back tomorrow. But anyways, Bob did. I sent the list off to him, and he did give me some updates here. So as for the Franchot Park entrance, anticipating a 2022 construction. Money may be spent well as a grant match and include the improvements to the pool and its transition to a splash pad. Chris Uwari and I are going to meet with the company that installs splash pad equipment next and gives a sense of the layout and the cost of a splash pad. Sand volleyball courts might be interesting for franchise as part of the park upgrade. There's space between the horseshoe pits and the levee. So we can continue on. I believe we have 50,000 for the entrance, but I know there was some interest in doing more at Franchise Park. So that's Bob is that's what he's reporting on that. You want me to just go on to Forness Park?
Yeah, Bill, if you want to just keep going down the list here. So Forness Park grant update.
Okay. He's working on this in the winter to be ready for spring grant application for the Ralph Wilson Foundation. And we'll also be looking to applications to Empire State Development for there too. So we have a lot of interesting things that he's going to be working on, and we'll keep the council in the loop on that. Inclusive Playground Project. This is we'll be working within Tandem, and John, you'll be part of that committee. Tandem's been raising money, but we have money. I believe we have how much?
50,000.
Yeah, I think we have 50,000 for there. So one of the questions is okay, where should this inclusive park be? Should it be as part of the Forness update? Should it be at franchise? Or is this something that we could do at Marcus Park? Renovation, upgrading of Marcus Park. So we will be having meetings on that to get work on all of that. The Stardust pump station, we are completing the final construction items, including final pump connections and electrical work. Then we will begin startup and testing this winter. Our guys are finishing up the check valve installation at the top of the hill to prevent the issues we had in the summer with our tanks volumes dropping. I've asked, he's saying here, he's asked Linda Witt to discuss with the residents of the area to see what, if any, additional landscaping they would like to see. This is a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't hear back, so we're not sure. So
Yeah, we talked about that.
okay, so that's all on that. And then there was one more item. The East State Street vacant property, that's at 209 East State Street. We put in for 2 grants over there to change that area into a nice area for to complement the senior center. We got turned down on the AARP grant. We're waiting on the Lowe's grant. Now we also have the Senior League is also given money for that project there. So that'll be a project that'll move forward as we move on. Now remember, as part of the East State Street project, that sidewalk's going to be widened there, so that we have to take that in consideration with whatever we do there. Some of the thoughts is to have a handicap accessible door on that side of the center, have seating area out there, gazebo out there, possibilities, maybe some raised garden, what do you call it? The raised
gardens?
Yeah. So for the seniors to plant things and that, and make that a real nice area. So fenced in, and we're been talking about how we're going to do it at the street opening there too. So that's still in discussion stages. Do we fence it off, or do we have it open so the public can use it also? So these are questions we have to answer. So,
All right.
I think that's the updates that I had on the list to update everybody on.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mayor. I would like to just kind of go back to something that I've been kind of hoping would become a reality for quite a while, and that would be to see a splash pad in Olean. I know I put together a presentation a couple of years ago, and I know it's kind of a pipe dream, but I think, and I fully support you and Bob with a vision. I think many of us probably would, to see the old wading pool transition into a splash pad, especially given the struggles finding
Yes.
lifeguards this past year. it's an older facility, and we really want to try to maybe bring some life back to that Franchot Park community. I wholeheartedly support that concept, and I think it would be really great to tie that in perhaps with a new entrance to Franchot Park, and then also bouncing to the concept of Marcus Park. Because their facilities are right nearby that, right? If I'm subcon facilities are right over there, right? So there could be some nice cohesion with that location. Have you had a conversation with Mary Howard at all on this?
Been speaking with Larry Sorokas, who is setting that up.
Okay.
Threw that out there, asked them to take a look at that. They've already looked at Forness. They think that could be very, very nice. I mean, with the area around or by the pond, with a nice, that's there. And I said, well, at Forness, you could actually have two areas. When you come down into Forness off of Roland, you can turn right, okay, and just beyond the restroom facility we have there, there's that area there where we have playground. That could be made. Now, the nice thing there is we have a lot of parking, and it'd be, and then same way with Franchot, that's another one to look at. And even Marcus, you can create, the area. The other thing we have, remember, we have that property at the 300 block of North 13th Street that borders the last house. It was the last house on the right going down there. We tore that house down. We have that property that could blend in with their property there too. So they were looking at the property that the URA owns, but it is leased to Olean, so a long-term lease. They wanted to be. They mentioned the trail, being there. So that's all stuff that we need to actually look at all of that stuff. Now I want to go back to the splash pad. I think that did bring it to the forefront. We could not get lifeguards this year, and Chris Sherreri and John Andor, they went up to they went up to Buffalo where they have a splash pad. And one of the things that they learned was that you don't need pumps, that your water pressure alone could, and when you're just using your city water, that pressure alone can use, you do that. Plus, you're not using chemicals because you're using the fresh water. So, and that could be, so we could convert that. And if we don't have to put pumps in, we don't have to use chemicals. That's a lot cheaper to run that, or more economical, I guess is a better word to use, to run that. So, and that could be on, if the water could be on timers. I think we would still want have a staff person there, but we don't need a lifeguard. We've got that, the building down there, that could be that could be a concession stand again down there. Linda's mentioned that many times, that we should have, so that could be down there run by us. And, and having, just go out there, let the water, go up. I didn't think I was a splash pad person, but when we were on our vacation, they had a splash pad there, and I walked out in it all the time, and it was just nice because the water's spraying, you just cool down and go back and sit down and
Go down the slide.
yeah.
Go down the slide. You didn't want to go down the
I got
slide.
stuck. No, I didn't go on that side, so. But we've got some opportunities here, and I think, I wanted, Bob's gonna work on estimates for a splash pad, what we have to do, and I think we can do it.
Well, my initial thoughts, and I've done some research on the stimulus money, okay, that the city has received, and I know we're supposed to get two portions of that, and I know there are certain criteria that money can be earmarked for, but I just read, I think we got something from NICOM, another municipality, and I'll have to send it to everybody, and the number of projects they're doing with that, I wonder if they're not allowing some flexibility. And so, I was thinking, any work that's done on that pool or a splash pad, it has to deal with water lines. It has to, I mean, and that's an area that is allowed under water and sewer lines, infrastructure related. That's how old is that existing facility? 50, 60 years? You know, maybe that second portion of stimulus money that we're earmarked for, maybe that's something where if we can't get a grant, we just flip the bill and pay ourselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, and doing more research on that stimulus money, that open outdoor activities in your parks
Correct.
is fundable. Okay, so, I mean, we've got some opportunity here, yeah.
Yep. No, I think other things that, you know, they presented was, that it said challenges, you know, challenges specific to COVID, dealing with employment, the fact that we couldn't find, so I think we couldn't find lifeguards, right, this past summer. So I think maybe with a little creativity, you know, I know and I appreciate the fire chief and DPW, you know, they're kind of going after some really high needs on that, that stimulus money. Maybe we try to collaborate and come up with a way to do something awesome for the community. So I fully support it, Mayor. Okay, any other comments or questions? Alderman Witt.
Yeah, and thank you, John. I put these on finance because what I wanted to do is, and I talked to John about this, is halfway through the year, we really need to look at where our finances are. And I think having projects that we've set money aside or we've spent money or that we're continually spending money. For instance, franchise, when I was talking about putting that on, we have that 50,000, and I think the splash pad would be great. We were in Burlington, Vermont, and they put one in the middle of the city in this huge park where they have their farmers market and stuff. And they put a splash pad in instead of the pool. They used to have a wading pool for the kids. So they put a splash pad on. I have a picture of it, I can show you. And what they did is they put lights. So the kids can, you know, touch and the lights go on and off. So you can do a lot of really cool things with splash pads. So I think that's a great idea. As far as Forest Park, I looked back in my notes and it said that we had to have everything together to carry by October. So that's why I brought that up for any grants. So I just wanted to make sure we're still moving ahead. And back to franchise, I was actually talking to Meg about the huge white wall on there. I think at the top it says Johnny Appleseed. And we were talking about, and I think Vern, you had brought this up months ago, about either like butterfly wings or angel wings, and people could go over there and take photos, and that seems to be a big thing all over the place. So if we could maybe do a design this coming spring and put that in, that would draw more people to that area. As far as the inclusive playground, my question, and a couple people had asked me, are we spending our 50,000 that we set aside separately from in tandem, or are we putting that together? That was a question that someone had asked. I didn't readily have the answer. I think either way, I think would work fine. I'm not sure what in tandem's vision is, and I think Marcus would be great because it's right behind the building, so it's a great location. Then if we're going to use our 50,000 to put one or two pieces of park equipment, say at Franchetta Fornes, we're happy. So that was a question that came up. Stardust pump station, I just had several people call and just ask me how much longer it's going to take up at the top of the hill. It's all dug up. And I have been talking with the folks on by Arlen, and I know they have 4 more trees coming in November, so I'll keep going back and forth with Bob on that. And I think I've talked to the folks at the senior center, and they're just eager to find out what we're going to be putting next door. So that was the reason I put them on finance. And the only other question I have, and I told John I was going to add this because it was supposed to be on finance and bills, is if you look in your monthly bills, I just marked it. I was just curious, let's see, I think it's on page 3, and it's under street lighting need 28,000 for lighting. Is there a way that that can come out of the solar energy that they give to the city?
We received, I don't know, I'll say that.
Well, I know there's buildings that we're using it towards, so I saw that number and I was just curious if that was something that we could either negotiate or look
I'll have to
into.
find out.
Okay.
But right now, we receive the net metering credits, which means that credit is, we had to provide National Grid with what accounts we wanted metering credits to apply to. So I'll have to get an answer on that question.
Yeah, I just thought, if that would cut down on that 28,000 for the lighting over there, that would be significant and would help our budget. So those are the questions, John, that I have.
We're doing excellent with the net metering credits. Since we started the program, I just had this conversation with Brad, and it looks like we received close to 200,000 in credit since we started the program there. So,
Great.
Mayor, do you have an update or a comment back? So as far as, and I just want to see something get done, so if we have the opportunity to partner with in tandem, so at this time, the money that we've set aside, are you envisioning that we're, in tandem, we're going to look to partner with them and support each other? I know they had a big fundraising effort for their park. I saw the plans that they have. Fantastic. So are you envisioning that the best course of action at this time is to partner with them, maybe leverage the money we've set aside, if any grants they're going to try, because they're being a not-for-profit? Is that kind of the best direction?
well, I think that is a direction.
Yeah.
And I think what I have, in fact, Larry Strokes and I've been playing phone tag. So I think that we need to sit down with them and have a talk and say, okay, let's come to a plan. Are we gonna go independent, or are we gonna work with you and try to leverage? So I think the more people you collaborate with, the more leverage you can get, and that's how, when you put in for these grants, that's what they like to see, community participation and community leveraging and different things like that, so.
And I'm not going to say, again, whatever ultimately gives us the best bang for our buck in our community, if we have the ability to, you go down to Marcus Park right now, that stuff's been in there since I don't even know, God knows when. And you go down to Forness, and God knows that needs a facelift too, right? And so to go out on our own, well, we set aside $50,000, but if we have an opportunity to collaborate with someone else, they can, I know a lot of the grants need to show that there's an in-kind, and if we are that in-kind, when they go after Ralph Wilson grants or whatever else that they could go pursue, the more the merrier. I just, maybe if we could sit down with them and come to a conclusion, are we on our own or are we together?
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Alderman Witt?
Yeah, no, I agree. It was just a question that someone had asked me. And, I think anytime you can do public-private projects, I think that's a great thing. And I also want to point out that the folks that go to SUMCOM are our residents, so, their families pay taxes too. So I'm perfectly fine sharing that money. I just, I didn't have an answer for this person, so I just wanted to bring it up so we could clarify what we're doing.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anything else?
Since we're talking about parks, can I bring something up?
Does it get paid by the end of the year?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just
Alderman Anastasia.
Just Union Street gets paid, but. We talked about it last year, but I haven't heard anything, and I was just asked the other day by two of my constituents, is the city still looking at a dog park? And I told them that they were looking at Oak Hill Historical District, and I didn't have an answer to them, so I was just wondering if they were still looking into that.
Yes, we are. We just had a meeting, what did we have with John last Friday?
Yeah, yes,
Or was it?
this last week.
Yeah, we had a meeting, and, that's part of the DRI, Downtown Revitalization Initiative, and Tammy Hilme is working with I got data mixed up, workshop, which one is that one? It's six.
Theater workshop.
Theater workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's working with them to design
Amphitheater,
amphitheater.
outdoor theater.
And Bob Ring and actually John and Gary have been working on the dog park up there. And that's gonna take a little bit because, you know, we have to do all of our due diligence with the park and all that. So, but the plans are still there. We're still moving forward with that. It's gonna be real nice.
Is that still scheduled for next year, or is that beyond that?
It's scheduled for 2022 to start it. Yeah.
So as long as, although the one key, I guess, is Carrie has kind of indicated, is it has to go through SHPO, is that which is like the State Historical Society, and you essentially, because it's a historical district, you've got to list all of the different supplies that that they're historically accurate. I don't know, what's the term?
Then we're gonna have to do a seeker,
Yeah.
type 1 supplier, right? Yeah. The long seeker, because, I don't know if you knew it, many years ago, they actually, that used to be a cemetery up there, so, the remains that were found there were moved up to the cemetery in South Olean. So, there's a lot of work to do on it, and we're moving forward with it, but yes, we're continuing on with that. As part of the DRI project, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Steve? Alderman Barner.
I don't think having a dog park up at Oak Hill Park is a good idea. That there's too many kids playing up there, and I just don't think your dog park is a great idea for Oak Hill.
Okay. Well, I'll address that as far as that goes. So there is about how many square feet of fencing is going in? Did Bob say?
Yeah, it's quite
A lot.
yeah.
So there's 5-foot fencing going in around the entire south end, which would be the south closest to 4th Street, that area there. Right now it's inactive except for fights after school and maybe the occasional overdose. But it's activating that end of the park in a positive way. So 5-foot fencing is going up, and then the plan is to put arborvitaes along the exterior on the outside of the fence. You don't want to put them on the inside of the fence for certain reasons with dogs. So we're putting them on the outside of the fence to create a natural sound barrier as well as a visual barrier to the community. So the exterior side is going to be blocked by arborvitaes. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Alderman Robinson.
I want to add to that. It sounds like we're going to cover up some of the aesthetics of having the ability to watch the dogs play and stuff like that. I'll take some pictures of the dog parks when I go back out in Arizona in December, and I'll bring them back. That way we can see. But 5-foot fences, I mean, sounds like we're worried or nervous about something.
No, the chain link fencing.
Right.
But that's
5 feet tall.
Yes, that's what's advised, so the dogs don't get out and
So,
go near the playground.
yeah. So New York's scary. Gotcha.
That's to be safe.
I know if I took my dog up, he would just run. And I'd have to chase him down 4th Street, West State, all over the place. So I like to fence
Dogs. Just a little life lesson for dogs. When dogs do the phantom running, it's because they're tied up or in the house all day. Just for people out there that are listening. So if you get out and walk your dog, exercise your dog, which is recommended anyway, then they won't do the phantom running. And you'll notice that they do it mostly in the winter time. So, but most of the fences at the dog parks are usually about 3 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. Mine is whenever he sees a rabbit or a squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some big squirrels.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to, approval of committee reports. We have none, so I'll make a motion to adjourn. Could I get a second? Second by Alderman Witt, all in favor? Aye, opposed? We are adjourned and jumping into committee of the whole. I'll call the order for Tuesday, October 19th, 2021. Let the record show that all aldermen are present except for Alderman Gonzalez. So we have no unfinished business. We've got some new referrals for consideration, and I'm going to go ahead and take just to check off a couple, I think, easy things before we get into the Civilian Review Board work session. So number one, I wanted to pass along to the mayor. I was approached by a resident, and this is a concern that is brought up to me, and I'm sure many of us, every single year. And the request by the resident was, would we be able to, for a couple of weekends, after we stop sweeping up the leaves in the streets, would we be able to open up the Front Street lot? Because typically what happens, the leaves take an extended period of time to fall off the trees, and by the time we're done doing the sweeping in the roads, there's still, leaves that people have in their yards, and they can't put them in the road because they start plowing. And so the request was, would you guys consider, opening up maybe Front Street lot a couple Saturdays in mid-November after we're done doing them? So I thought I would pass that along and see if that's something that you
We
can.
did extend it to a couple of weeks in October, but I think we could do that in November.
Yeah. So, I don't know, is that something some of you others get? That's been at least, that's been a concern of numerous residents of mine have brought that up. Why do you guys sweep so early? And I can't remember what the reason is. And I feel like Bob has told us before, we sweep early, like we can't wait to sweep. Is it because the snow flies? Is that I forget why we sweep when we do. But they're always like, well, the leaves aren't even off all of the trees yet.
If you end up plowing the roads before you pick them up, you end up with a mess.
Yes, that's the reason. That is the reason, correct. So if you plow like this, yes, thank you, Jason.
I remember one year that happened, and we had, plows come and they push the snow and the leaves, and we had big piles down in front of somebody's driveway, and it was just a mess.
Yes.
We had people call me from, remember Gemini Drive? It was Thanksgiving, and people could even park on the street because there was tons of leaves that hadn't been picked up, and
Yeah.
it was a mess.
So maybe that might be an alternative solution for us since we're using that Front Street lot. So anyways, okay, number one. Number two, I sent all of the aldermen an email on this. I didn't hear of any concerns, okay? But it's been on my mind for a long time. I'm proposing that we move all of our meeting times from now on to 6 p.m. Committees, regular meetings, keep it consistent. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years, and I still have to look at the calendar to see what Tuesday of the month it is. Is it at 5:30 or 6:30? So Tiffany did some research. It's a code change, or no, it's not a code change. We just, because it's not actually stated, it says we just need to vote by majority vote. So next Tuesday, we'll put up just the resolution or whatever. We just need a vote, all of us, if we all agree, 6 p.m. Tuesday, every Tuesday. Mayor, do you have any issues with that?
No, I do not.
I figured
What about the fifth Tuesday?
nothing on the 5th Tuesday. But we'll split the difference between 5:30 and 6:30 and just 6 o'clock. Okay. All right. Any concerns? Awesome. I think it'll be easier for our constituents, to keep everything straightforward, some consistency there. So, okay. So those are the easy ones. Next we have Civilian Review Board work session. Okay. So, we have our latest draft. Again, just as a reminder, Alderman Panis and Alderman Robinson have collaborated. We all, the three of us met. We worked on a draft policy, and then and that got handed out 2 weeks ago, I believe. Asked for you to come up with some thoughts. Now, in the meantime, we did, the mayor did send this off to the patrol unit and command unit law enforcement officers union representatives, which provided feedback. So everyone should have feedback in red, okay, handed out to you. So this has been reviewed by essentially the union's lawyer with comments in red.
I have, excuse me, I did make some copies. They're single page, not the two-sided, if anybody wants that. It's easier for them.
Anybody prefer single page? The mayor has those. And then, second of all, we have a memo that's been drafted as far as recommendations, suggestions from our labor attorney, okay, that that the mayor printed off, and we got later on this afternoon. I emailed them to all of you, and I handed them out. We did get the A-OK from the labor attorney to be able to reference his comments and his suggestions in this draft here. Okay.
He is, if I may,
Yep. Mayor.
Joe Broccoli has also said that it may be easier if we get him down here for a meeting so that he can answer your questions directly. So any questions you have back and forth, and he can answer all that.
Okay. So that is something that we can absolutely request. Okay. So we've got all these different opinions here. At this time, I will offer up the opportunity to any of the aldermen to make a comment on the draft proposal first, before maybe we kind of dig into some of the feedback that we've received. Are there any initial comments on this? Alderman Witt. Thank you.
I read through it a couple times, and I think, about a month ago, I had mentioned simplifying it, and I think you did a really good job of doing that. And then I looked over what Joe Bracchio sent us, and it'd be interesting to go through this. I kind of see the point of what he says, but I think some of your last draft, to me, it's more simplified and it makes more sense. And I think ultimately, with the review board, it has to go back to the police chief and the mayor. So I think just keeping it simple and uncomplicated should be our goal. And I think reading through this, I felt like, you kind of hit the point on it.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Witt. Anyone else?
No, I'd just like to say I read over the draft that Jason and Vern did, and I thought it too. It was very simple and to the point. And if you sent these in the email, I didn't get these unless I did them in the email today. I'm not sure.
Today.
Okay.
Because I just got them today.
Okay, yeah, but so I haven't seen any of these yet, what their comments are.
Yeah.
But I kind of like what those guys did.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it came in late this afternoon.
any other comments or questions?
Jack couldn't be here.
I
He did send you a note
Yep.
on that.
Yep.
And I don't know if you want me to read it or you want to just want
You know, Mayor, I don't. What I might recommend, okay, since we received feedback late from Joe Bracchio, from our labor attorney. I don't know how beneficial it will be for all of us to sit here and work through line by line again. What I might suggest is kicking this to a smaller group of maybe me, Vernon, and Jason sitting down and combing through some of this material. I would appreciate essentially forming a subcommittee to try to work through some of this. I think we all should have input, but I don't know if it's going to be beneficial for all of us to, there's a lot of moving pieces, I feel like, and now we've got Jack's opinion too, which is short and sweet, but I was going to forward that off to the council. I'm up for other suggestions, but I'm wondering if it would be more beneficial for the council, for our time, if a smaller group of us were able to kind of get down into the nuts and bolts of this feedback and make some, I think it is important that we take into consideration what the attorneys are suggesting. At the same time, I think it's important that we do what is ultimately necessary for the best of our residents, as well as partnering with our police force. So there's a lot of nuances to this. I'm open to other suggestions, though.
I think that's fine. We've had subcommittees in the past, and if, in the meantime, the rest of us can read through this, and if we have questions or suggestions, we can send them to John. That way he can share them with Jason and is that okay?
I would prefer that. I think that would, I don't know. Without asking, I've thrown Vernon and Jason on the spot and just,
I'm down.
That's fine with me, John. It is a lot to take in. I think it's one where we need to sit down and just kick back and forth to each other.
correct.
What advice do we take? What advice do we not want to take? And then bring it to you guys to see what you think. But there'll be some things that we are just gonna maybe not take advice.
Correct. I agree.
But we need to kick that back and forth and think about it.
Yep. Alderman Robinson?
I agree with both of you. I'm for getting together and doing a subcommittee, but before we do, this particular document was written by the union lawyers, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
They referenced section 5.5 of the CBA numerous times, so I guess we're gonna need a copy of that.
Okay. Mayor, could you help us with that?
Yes. I thought I sent the union contracts out there,
Oh, the police union contract, that was sent to the reform committee?
but yes.
Okay.
And we should all
I'll
have,
send them again.
Okay.
I'll check my, I'll check.
We have the new agreement with the patrol unit is there. The one with the command unit is being updated to the new agreement. So I will send you the old one, but I'll make sure everybody gets the union contracts. So, do you want hard copies or electronic?
Electronic.
I just print them off at home.
Okay.
That works.
No, I think, John, you got a great idea, or else we could sit here for 2 hours and just accomplish nothing.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. At the end of the day, I think we've never kind of gone down this road before, so I think we want to collaborate and, we don't need to do all of the brainstorming and back and forth. What we would like to do is then kind of crash everything together, and as I think Jason said it perfectly, a lot of this is advice. Some advice you take, some advice you don't, and you ultimately try to come up with the best quality item that is going to be the most effective for our community. So I'm comfortable doing that with you guys.
So I'm just wondering, we got two opinions. You said Jackson on his own opinion too, is it different?
I will forward that to you. Very similar. Similar concerns, short and sweet. I can, after the meeting, I can go ahead and forward that to all of the aldermen, as he wasn't going to be here tonight. Okay? Any other comments or questions? Okay. See you.
John, just for the heck of it while we're here, so that I can get it in my brain, I always hear about a referendum, and I don't know what in the world that means. Can you explain to me what a referendum has to do with us and the council?
Again, so, a referendum is a vote, okay, going out to the community for a vote. Anytime you are going to you propose something that goes against the basic constitution of the city, which we have a city charter, so anytime you go against something that is written as the basic confines or construct of that charter, for example, we have a strong mayor, weak council form of government. for our city, okay? And so the mayor gets to appoint members to committees, right? To the zoning board, the planning board, and we get to approve. So, for example, some of the feedback has been any limitation of individuals who the mayor could appoint could actually be circumventing the strong mayor form of government. And if we say, yeah, you can appoint, but you can't, you've got to appoint from this group and not this group or something like that, the recommendation there is you're actually circumventing the mayor's right to appoint whom he or she wants to appoint. And as such, you need to go to a public referendum. Now that's one lawyer's opinion on that, right? But essentially we would have to put that up to a vote to the people of Olean. So that's what a referendum is. So just as if we wanted to ever change to a city manager, right? That's something that goes against the basic structure of the city. We would have to put that up to a vote for the people of Olean, for the citizens. Okay? Does that pretty much sum it up? What a referendum is?
And unless you do it during an election year, that could be very pricey.
Correct. Yeah. Unless you coincide that with an
You
election.
actually have to have a vote done by the county, just like they do for the elections. That's
Yeah,
all.
I believe the Board of Elections would.
It would be on the ballot.
Yeah, like.
Right, if you did it, if you wanted like something separate from a election time, you'd be footing a bill wholly for that entire process.
That's correct. That's correct. Rico?
There's gonna be 5 on the ballot this year. There's 5 referendums for New York State. So those could be, read them.
I've seen those pop up from time to
Yeah.
time, never really.
Usually on
knew
the back,
how that-
usually on the back of the ballot, so you have to read them. But they can be, they're very serious. And so we need to take a look at that. Everybody needs to take a look at that and vote how they feel on these referendums, so.
Okay.
There was a good summary in the Olean Times Herald last week on those 5 referendums.
Yeah, so, and to go back to your point, Alderman Anastasia, if we were to pursue that outside of the election cycle, we wanted to do this in June. Well, maybe they could coincide it with the primaries, whatever the date is there, but whatever. Yeah, we'd have to go through like the Board of Elections, and that would be an additional, a big fee to set up across the city of Olean, polling sites and polling workers, and they'd send us the bill. So if you can coincide a referendum with an election, it's not as bad, but it's still something that, do we really want to go to the trouble for, so. Okay, any other questions?
I'd like to let everybody know that we have received our 3rd check for the Bird scooters, and it was for $354.25. So to date, we have received $978.25. So for the Bird scooters. And the other thing I want to let everybody know is that tomorrow I will be going to Buffalo to give testimony on the redistricting. I don't know if everybody knows, but they want our new district to be north and south. They want to merge us in with Niagara Falls and Buffalo and all that. So I'm giving testimony that we want it to stay east and west. So I will be at I will be going to Buffalo, and it's at 4 o'clock. So now
Who's putting the testimony on? I mean, what is it
this
for?
is the Independent Redistricting Committee.
Okay.
So you can get on the New York State website and you can give comment too on it. So I think it's New York State IR Redistricting something. IRC.gov.
Okay.
And that'll take you to that. And it was just in the Times Herald here a few days ago. So it's important that we maintain, our districts down here along the southern tier rather than be merged in, because if we get merged in with Niagara Falls and Buffalo and that, We're gonna be on our own island here, so.
Okay. Anything else? All right, seeing nothing, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Did I get a second? Seconded by Alderman Barnard. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.